Welcome, and this is the Grassroots Education and Entertainment Network, your number one source of information, education, and entertainment. For honest, responsible, and dependable information, we stand supreme. To stay focused, inspired, and relaxed, choose green.
Ekabo, and welcome to the Ifagbemiro show. And as usual, we are going to get into some Ifa classes this afternoon, but before I do, allow me to open by using this Oriki. Open Ifun Oloru, Oludumare Oba Ajiki, Mojiloni, Morogumeriaye, Iba Ila Orun, Iba Ariwa, Iba Gusu, Iba Oba Igbalie, Iba Orun Oke, Iba Baba, Iba Yeye, Iba Atiwo Orun, Ibashe Igungun Kiki Igungun, Ibashe Ori, Ori Inu, Ipori Atiwo Orun, Ashe, Ashe, Ashe. Let me now continue again. In Yoruba psychology, consciousness originated from La, which means in English eternity, which is the mystical source of creation. This idea is part of a body of thoughts on the structure of being and of the universe. And these thoughts are referred to as Awo, which means mystery. These ideas were formulated at the dawn of Yoruba civilization and were contained in the 256 verses, each known as an Udu. Knowledge of these ideas was kept away from the public domain and guarded jealously by the priests of Ifa. They were only passed on via oral tradition from one priest to a descendant priest. It is only recently that some of these ideas have started to be written down by Yoruba scholars. Now, of course, most of us would know that much of African tradition is handed down from father to son and from a person to another person. For generations, it has been like that, right? And also, this has posed a little bit of a challenge for us in the diaspora because of the fact that we are outside of West Africa. But fortunately, now because of these changes, where lots and lots of information are now available in the form of written books, we are now able to have quite a lot of information to our access. All right, according to Awu, a part of which is paraphrased above, everything in the universe was created from the ontological tension between the opposing forces of expansion and contraction, light and darkness. The contracting forces are centripetal in nature and therefore absorb light, and the expanding forces are centrifugal and so generate light. To the Yoruba, light comes from darkness and darkness from light. Both are seen as an expression of Ashe, the spiritual potency sustaining all of creation. In human beings, the seat of Ashe is located within the Ori Inu, or the inner head, which is the spiritual consciousness of self and the home of the unconscious mind. The balance of opposing energies in Ashe generates a spherical pattern in consciousness. This is symbolized by the circular format of open Ifa, a divination board used by priests to restore alignment between the Ori and Ipori. This board is essentially a map of the polarity of forces in consciousness, referring to the open Ifa model of the structure of consciousness. Ori is to the south, opposite the Ipori in the north. To the east is Ara, which is the body, and to the west is Emi, which is the breath of life. In the center of these forces is the inner head, or the Ori Inu. It is the home of the unconscious mind and the seat of destiny. It is believed that just before birth, every Ori negotiates an arrangement with Olorun, outlining their goals for the lifetime. At birth, the details of disagreement are removed from the realm of conscious thought and hidden in the unconscious domain within the inner head and Ipuri in heaven. One's destiny, therefore, is to remember the original agreement and work towards achieving those goals. Any deviation from these goals create a misalignment between the Ipori and Ori and result in dis-ease. Healing is sought through divination, which is a process of remembering and realignment of destiny. So, what that just explained is that doing Idafa brings one into an understanding or into a memory of one's purpose. The process through which this is done is in many instances related to initiation processes, where one is made to understand through rituals what one's real innate duty is for coming to IE, what one came here to do. All right. Now, there are several important forms of initiation, or what we call ritual initiations, that human beings or that our people in the tradition or Isheshe or Onisheshe participates in. All right. One is one of the rituals that are done at the birth of a child, where an idafa is done for the child, and the child's life path is determined through divination. The parents at that stage is guided and given specific instructions as to the guiding of the life of the child so that the child could achieve and could accomplish what the child was sent from IE and agreed to do while they are here. Outside of that particular ritual or that particular ritual initiation, there are other forms of initiation that also provides a great measure of guidance for individuals who are trying to align themselves with their Ori, with their destiny, and with their purpose. There is Hands of Ifa or Ishefa, which is one of the rituals. There is also Iteladu, right, which is full Ifa initiation. All right, I'm not at liberty to discuss the details of these, but what I can say is that they are very important for a person who is interested in knowing their true purpose in life so that they would be able to have that alignment where they can fulfill their true purpose and destiny. All right, let me go back to reading. This is a very lucid explanation and worthy of including in its entirety. What we want to accomplish through divination and in our daily lives is the balance of the four quadrants which intersect at the Ori Inu, which is the center spot of the open Ifa. It is worthy to note that at the same time that the Ori Inu is also the, in, the interstice of all Orisha. Obatala, the arch divinity, came down the chain with the snail shell. Ogun not only took over where Obatala left off, but also worked alongside Ajala Mopin. Ogun carves the faces of the Ori after Ajala molds them, including the eyes, which are then activated by Eshu, who also activates the facial muscles, in effect, giving us the emotions. Remember also that Eshu is the membrane between darkness and light. Ogun's relationship to Ori is found in still another Odu verse, which is Osa Meiji. And Osa Meiji reads, Ori Buruku Kiiwu Tulu Akiada Ase Asiwere Mo Loju Ona. Akiami Ori Oloye Lawuju Adifun Mobowu Tí Ese Obiri Ogun Oriti Ojoba Lola Enki Enkan Omo Kito Kotaya Omo Perawoni Wemo Oriti Joba Lola Enika Mo. A person with a bad Ori isn't born with a head different from the others. No one can distinguish the footstep of the madman on the road. No one can recognize the head destined to wear a crown in an assembly. Ifa was cast for Mobowu, who was the wife of Ogun. A husband and a wife should not treat each other badly, not physically nor spiritually. The head that will reign tomorrow, nobody knows. All right. The participation of Obatala and Ogun in creation is attested to by the fact that most of the essay Odu about creation are found in Odus containing either Ogbe or Ogunda, or a combination of both. Ogbe is the Odu that incarnates Obatala, and Ogunda incarnates Ogun. Oshun is the owner of the beaded hair comb and the Orisha of hairstyles or hairstylists. Beside adding to the power and beauty of the human face and head, which is the focus of much aesthetic interest in Yoruba culture and art, hair plaiting carries an important religious significance in Yoruba tradition. The hair plaiter or hairdresser is seen as one who honors and beautifies Ori, the pot for Ori Inu. One's head is taken to be the visible representation of one's destiny and the essence of one's personality. It is believed that taking good care of one's hair is an indirect way of carrying favor with carrying favor with one's Ori Inu. Thus, the Yoruba have created a wide range of hairstyles that not only reflect the primacy of the head, but also communicates taste, status, occupation, and power, both temporal and spiritual. The Ori Inu is comprised of three parts which are accessed through our Ori. The first spot is our forehead, which is what many refer to as the third eye. The second spot is the top of the head, which connects us to the Ipori and Ila. And the third spot is at the base of the skull, which connects head and heart, a condition necessary for attaining elevated levels of consciousness. It is through the base of the skull that one connects with Orisha or goes into possession. Yoruba religion focuses on the worship of the Orisha because of the belief that they act on behalf of Olodumare, who is too exalted to be approached directly. Yet, Olodumare is indirectly involved in the day to day life of an individual through his or her Ori Inu. This is why it is of central importance to maintain balance and harmony between the three components, which are Ori, Ori Inu, and Ipori, which constitutes the Ori complex. This preoccupation overrides any worship of any Orisha and even of one's ancestor. In the past, every adult Yoruba had an Ori pot or an Ibori, which is kept inside an Ile Ori house or an Ile Ori, which is the house of the head. It is encased in leather and adorned with thousands of Kori shells. All right. Now, with that, I would like to stop because it is quite a bit for one session. All right. Now, I would also like to remind the viewers who follow the Grassroots Education and Entertainment Network to know that these streams are available for viewing on the Ifa Orisa Tradition Discussion Group of Trinidad and Tobago, the Ifagbemiro Home of Ifa Orisa Tradition, the Ifa Orisa Community Congress, Grassroots Network, Education and Entertainment Network. It is also available on the African Indigenous Tradition community page. It is available also on the Ifa Orisa Tradition Teaching Group, as well as the Ifa Orisa Institute of Sacred and Divine Sciences. We are also on YouTube at the Ifagbemiro Home of Ifa Orisa Tradition. So, just a little recap for today's discussion on Ori. It is important for us to understand that the Ori is the greatest Orisha. It is also important to us to understand having alignment with your Ori allows you to be able to be navigated through guidance of your Ori towards the fulfillment of your destiny. We also want you to remember the Ori have three distinct parts. We have the Ori, we also have the Ori Inu, and we also have the Ipori. All right. Beside having these three makeup that is of a psychological nature, The Ori also have three physical parts, which I just mentioned, which is what we call the third eye or the Iwaju. We talk about the top of the Ori that connects us to the universal energy that we refer to as Oludumare. This part of the Ori is called the Atari, and we have the Ipako, which is at the nape of the neck, which I just read is the energy that puts us into possession. What I would do is I would just read over that part of describing the Ori. Yoruba religion focuses on the worship of the Orisha because of the belief that they act on behalf of Olodumare, who is too exalted to be approached directly. Yet Olodumare is indirectly involved in the day-to-day life of an individual through his or her Ori Inu. This is why it is of central importance to maintain balance and harmony between the three components, which is the Ori Inu, and the Ipori of the Ori complex. This preoccupation overrides any worship of any Orisha and even of one's ancestors. In the past, every adult Yoruba had an Ori pot or an Ibori, which is kept inside an Ile Ori. It is encased in leather and it is also adorned with thousands of cowrie shells. All right, the part now let me read. The Ori Inu is comprised of three parts which are accessed through our Ori. The first spot is our forehead, which is what we refer today as the third eye. This is called the Iwaju. The second part at the top of the head that connects us to our Ipori and Ila, which is the Atari, and the third part, which is at the base of the skull that connects the head and heart, a condition necessary for attaining elevated levels of consciousness. It is through the base of the skull that one connects with Orisha or goes into possession, and this is called the Ipako. All right, so this would commence my reading for today's show. All right, and I received a greeting from one of the viewers. Brother, I am fine by Oludumare and Ifa. All right, so with that, we would bring today's show to a close, today's lesson to a close. And I would just like to just give a brief, I don't want to call it an ad, but I would like to share with viewers where they can view the streams and also the various programs that we have on every week. All right. Uh, our list of virtual activities include classes. We have also programs on a Sunday. The health show is at 5 p.m. All right. The Ifa Orisa community discussion is every Friday at 6:30 p.m. On Wednesday, which is today, we have Orisha Basics on the Ifagbemiro show, right? We also have astrology classes at 6:30 on a Wednesday and etymology classes on a Friday at 5 p.m. For persons who are interested in live lectures or study classes, we have classes every Tuesday at 5 p.m. at the Barataria Community Center. This would be at 6th Avenue, opposite the recreation ground. All right, so I would close off by reciting the Soriki. Let us not engage the world hurriedly. Let us not grasp at the rope of wealth impatiently. That which should be treated with mature judgment, let us not deal with in a state of uncontrolled passion. When we arrive at a cool place, let us rest fully. Let us give continuous attention to the future, and let us give deep consideration to the consequences of things, and this because of our eventual passing. And with that, I would like to say Odabo. Remember to share, like, and subscribe and we will be back again next Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. with the Ifagbemiro show. Odabo.